It's 1999. Everyone is talking about a movie called The Matrix. The trailers are confusing, the ads are cryptic, and the tagline basically tells you, you won't understand, just go watch it. Which, if you're a 15-year-old me sitting in a school classroom, sounds like a personal challenge. The brilliance of the Matrix marketing campaign wasn't in showing you the plot, it was in not showing you the plot. You got glimpses of black leather, sunglasses, and slow-motion kicks, but nobody told you what any of it meant. Was it sci-fi, action, philosophy class with explosions? The mystery alone made it feel like an event. I first saw The Matrix in school during a philosophy unit that coincidentally happened to cover Plato's Allegory of the Cave. I remember thinking, oh, that's why these dudes in trench coats are dodging bullets. They're literally just realizing their shadows on the wall aren't real. The movie wasn't just flashy fights and green-tinted computer code, though yes, those helped. It was a meditation on reality, perception, and belief. And belief is key here. The Matrix isn't just about dodging bullets. It's about realizing the rules you thought were unbreakable are only as strong as your faith in them. Neo's journey is a literal example of what happens when you stop letting the world define your limitations. Morpheus hints at it, Trinity hints at it, and Agent Smith, well, he's kind of the emotional cautionary tale that maybe machines aren't supposed to feel, but somehow do. Then there's the meta layer. This film didn't just change cinema, it radicalized a generation of coat-wearing, philosophy-quoting teens, spawned endless debates about free will versus destiny, and accidentally created the entire red pill meme economy, all before you could even download a proper MP3 without waiting 30 minutes. But more on that later. Right now, the point is simple. The Matrix didn't just want you to watch it, it wanted you to question everything you thought you knew. And if you weren't ready for that, well, good luck explaining to your high school math teacher why you just stopped taking attendance seriously, because reality is an illusion, man. Ah, the late 90s, when marketing campaigns were either completely honest or aggressively cryptic. And The Matrix chose the latter. The trailers didn't tell you much, aside from a lot of leather, sunglasses, and a lot of slow-mo kung fu. No plot, no characters, just coolness. And apparently a subtle threat that if you didn't see it, you'd never understand reality again. Seriously, go back and watch them. They're like a Rorschach test for blockbuster audiences. You could see a car chase and think, great, another action movie. Or catch a glimpse of Keanu staring thoughtfully at some green code and think, okay, maybe this is some deep cyber philosophy thing. And in 1999, that was enough. The advertising leaned hard into mystery. Lines like, what is the Matrix? You have to see it to know, were everywhere. No attempt to explain what this movie was, just trust us. It was bold. It was confusing. It was basically the cinematic equivalent of a Reddit mystery thread before Reddit existed. And it worked. People wanted to know. People needed to know. It also built an interesting kind of hype. Fear and curiosity wrapped together. Everyone knew it was going to be cool, but nobody could articulate why. And that mystery gave The Matrix a cultural edge. It felt like a secret you were lucky enough to get in on. You weren't just watching a movie, you were awakening. And that's the genius part. By withholding explanations, the marketing perfectly mirrored the movie's themes. Reality isn't given to you, you have to discover it for yourself. The trailers weren't just ads, they were an exercise in perception. Every unanswered question in the trailer made the eventual reveal more satisfying. Every what the hell is going on moment hooked audiences deeper. Even in hindsight, the campaign was almost cruel, but also kind of brilliant. Because when the movie finally hit theaters, the anticipation wasn't just hype, it was philosophical preparation. By the time Neo dodged his first bullet, audiences weren't just entertained, they were questioning their own limitations. And of course, the hype didn't just stop in movie theaters. Action figures, video games, comic tie-ins, and a soundtrack full of industrial and electronic tracks turned The Matrix into a cultural omnipresence. It wasn't just a movie, it was a lifestyle, a meme before memes were a thing, a phenomenon that touched pop culture, philosophy, and teen identity crises simultaneously. So, let's talk about what makes The Matrix more than just leather coats and slow-motion kung fu. The philosophy. And no, I don't mean how to look cool in black trench coats, though that's a transferable skill. I mean the whole what is reality thing. Remember Plato's Allegory of the cave? A bunch of people chained up, only seeing shadows on a wall, thinking that's all there is. The Matrix basically dusted off that old chestnut, gave it a green filter, and added explosions. Neo is your average prisoner chained to illusions, except instead of shadows on a wall, he's dodging bullets and questioning why his computer keeps telling him that something is impossible. The first movie leans heavily into the idea that belief isn't just motivational pep talk nonsense. Belief literally defines the rules. Neo's abilities grow as he sheds the constraints of what he thinks is possible. Bullets? No problem. Jumping impossible distances? Easy. And this isn't just superhero nonsense. It's a subtle nod to how our minds shape our reality. Take Morpheus, for example. He's already living like he's halfway there, confident in his understanding of the Matrix, constantly testing Neo, and sometimes borderline terrifying. He believes so strongly in the system that he treats it like a puzzle he can solve, and in a sense, he's right. Neo, on the other hand, is a blank slate. His journey isn't just physical, it's about undoing the mental shackles handed down by his reality. And yes, I'm reaching here, but you can argue that's a little like how we inherit our parents' beliefs about money, life, or success. And then there's the big philosophical hook, Agent Smith. The guy who literally hates being in the system. He feels human emotions, disgust, boredom, anger, even though he's a machine. Which raises a question. If machines can feel trapped by a system, if their mind is affected by perception, does that blur the line between human and machine? Does belief and perception extend beyond flesh and blood? The film also teases this idea. Death in the Matrix isn't just physical. If you believe a bullet can kill you, it will. If you don't, maybe it won't. Which means the film isn't just about fighting robots, it's about fighting your own limitations. The rules are only real because you think they are. And Neo's entire arc is basically a philosophical cheat code. Stop believing in the walls of the cave, and suddenly the shadows are irrelevant. By the end of the first movie, Neo isn't just the one. He's a demonstration that anyone could approach this kind of liberation if they could shed their own mental limitations. The Matrix isn't just a sci-fi story. It's a meditation on belief, perception, and the power of the human mind. And yes, it's packaged in leather, sunglasses, and ridiculously cool fight choreography. Because, of course it is. Let's talk about the cast. Because, yes, the actors in The Matrix aren't just doing wire fu, they're carrying a movie that's equal parts philosophy lecture and action spectacle. And somehow, they make it all believable. But before we dive into leather coats and slow-mo bullets, it's worth noting where these actors were when they took the red pill. Keanu Reeves as Neo. By 1999, Keanu Reeves was no stranger to sci-fi and action. He'd already survived the 1980s teen drama gauntlet, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, time-traveled through dystopian Los Angeles, Time Cop, and hacked into the hearts of indie film fans with Dangerous Liaisons. While he hadn't yet won an academic award, he was widely respected for his earnestness and screen presence. Neo was a turning point. Here, Keanu wasn't just an action hero, he became the iconic action philosopher of a generation. And let's be honest, his zen-like calm in that trench coat makes dodging bullets look effortless. Laurence Fishburne as Morpheus. Fishburne came into the role with serious gravitas. By 1999, he'd already earned an Emmy for Tribeca in 1993 and had standout performances in films like Boys in the Hood 1991 and Apocalypse Now as a very young actor in flashbacks. He was a veteran of both stage and screen, and it shows. Morpheus isn't just a mentor, he's a philosophical rock you can lean on.
Fishburne brings that authority effortlessly, making every "what is real" moment feel like a personal challenge to the audience. Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity. Moss was still establishing herself in Hollywood when she took the role of Trinity. She had a few indie films and TV appearances under her belt. Memento would come shortly after, but nothing had yet put her on the map. Trinity wasn't just a breakout role, she was a statement. Here was an action heroine who could fight, think, and emote with equal skill. Her quiet conviction and rooftop leaps helped cement her as a credible and memorable figure in a male-dominated genre. Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith. By 1999, Hugo Weaving was already a respected actor in Australia, with a string of award-winning performances in films like Proof, 1991, and The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, 1994. Smith could have been a one-dimensional villain in anyone else's hands, but Weaving's precise delivery and subtle inflections give him emotional depth and, strangely, existential angst. This was the role that introduced him to global audiences, and it's easy to see why. He's terrifying, dryly witty, and somehow sympathetic, all while wearing a dark suit and sunglasses. The ensemble works because each character embodies a different aspect of the movie's themes. Neo, the student, discovering his limits. Morpheus, the mentor, unshakable in belief. Trinity, faith and emotional grounding. Smith, the system's voice and its hidden frustrations. And yet, the cast doesn't just carry the weight of the story, they also sell the ridiculousness.
Now we get to the part where the Matrix stops being just shyless slow-mo and leather jackets and starts getting philosophical. Though, let's be honest, the leather jackets help the existential musings land with style. At its core, the first Matrix movie is obsessed with choices and belief. Neo isn't just the one because Morpheus says so. He's the one because he learns to reject the rules of the world he's been handed and believe in something beyond them. The movie frames reality itself as a kind of mental construct. Bullets don't hurt you unless you accept that they can. Gravity, speed, and human limitations are only as real as your mind allows. Morpheus frequently frames this as destiny. You have to let it all go, Neo. Fear, doubt, disbelief. But the movie isn't naive. It doesn't suggest Neo was destined to be the one in some boring mystical sense. Instead, it's about potential unlocked by belief and choice. He chooses to accept the reality beyond the Matrix, and that choice transforms him. Destiny, in this sense, is less prophecy and more opportunity. Then there's faith, though not in the religious sense, unless you count faith in a guy in a trench coat who tells you bullets can't hurt you as spiritual enlightenment. Trinity's faith in Neo, Morpheus's faith in the prophecy, and Neo's eventual faith in himself all intersect to create the narrative momentum. Belief is literally the engine of the story. Lose your faith, and your abilities vanish. And it's not just humans, even the machines flirt with these themes. Agent Smith, a program supposedly designed to be logical and devoid of emotion, exhibits frustration, disgust, and existential anxiety. This raises the question, if belief and perception shape human reality, what happens when machines start perceiving differently? Could a program redefine its own reality the way Neo does? The Matrix also plays with inherited limitations. Neo's journey mirrors the way people inherit constraints from their upbringing or culture. If your parents taught you that the world is dangerous, unfair, or rigid, those lessons act like bullets inside your Matrix. They hurt if you believe they will. Neo becomes the one by discarding those inherited beliefs, showing us that liberation isn't granted, it's claimed. And let's not ignore the big thought experiment. What if you didn't believe the Matrix could hurt you? Could anyone theoretically become a Neo if they could completely unlearn fear and doubt? The first movie flirts with that idea, showing that the One isn't a mystical chosen figure. It's a demonstration of what belief and choice can do when untethered from mental limitations.
So, in the end, The Matrix isn't just a movie about kung fu and slow-motion bullets. It's a meditation on how perception shapes reality, how choice creates destiny, and how belief, faith in yourself, in others, or even in a philosophical red pill can literally change the world you inhabit. And yes, it does all this while making dodging bullets look very cool. Chapter 6. The Meta Layer and Cultural Impact. Trench coats, memes, and red pills. By now, it's obvious. The Matrix didn't just change cinema. It invaded pop culture like a philosophical virus in a leather coat. And let's be honest, part of its legacy isn't just what it said about reality, it's how the world ran with it, sometimes wildly off course. First, the obvious. Trench coats and sunglasses became a lifestyle. Cosplay didn't exist as a cultural juggernaut yet, but suddenly, walking into a mall in black leather felt vaguely prophetic. Teenagers everywhere had a look and a philosophy to match, dramatic, mysterious, and vaguely world-weary. And if your philosophy consisted of dodging imaginary bullets while listening to industrial music, congratulations, you were officially a Matrix teen. Then there's the internet metagame. Long before TikTok compilations or meme culture, The Matrix inspired endless speculation, chat room arguments, and red pill versus blue pill debates. People started using the red pill as shorthand for awakening to hidden truths, which, yes, eventually became a political meme because, of course it did. Some things don't age well. Movies, TV shows, and video games all took cues. The Matrix's bullet time? Instantly iconic. Its philosophy? Referenced everywhere, from Max Payne's noirish slow-motion shootouts to the Animatrix's experimental storytelling. And yes, let's not forget Enter the Matrix, the game that tried to let you live inside this world and mostly succeeded in confusing your understanding of plot chronology. Even the idea of Neo as the blank slate who learns the rules of reality became a storytelling archetype. You see it in countless films, shows, and books. The protagonist who starts ignorant, learns the system, then bends it to their will. The Matrix made it stylish, philosophical, and action-packed. And yet, for all this influence, the first movie remains deceptively simple at its core. It's a story about belief, choice, and perception. All the memes, cosplay, and bullet time homages are fun, but the heart of the movie is still the same. You shape your reality by what you believe is possible. Which is why, 25 years later, The Matrix endures. It's still referenced, still parodied, still studied in philosophy classes, and still capable of sparking questions about the nature of reality that nobody else in the late 90s dared to ask in such a stylish package. And let's face it, even if you only remember it for the slow-motion bullet dodging, the leather coats, or Keanu's zen face, the movie did make you wonder, what rules are real and which ones are just shadows on a wall?
So you thought The Matrix was just slow-motion kung fu and leather jackets. Cute. The first film also quietly drops a bunch of questions that could keep philosophers, sci-fi nerds, and Reddit users arguing for decades. First up, belief versus death. In The Matrix, bullets only hurt if you believe they will. So theoretically, if you were born outside the Matrix and had no reference point for bullets, would you die when someone shot at you? Or would you just stand there like, that's interesting. Some shiny metal flying towards me. Curious. This isn't just a thought experiment. It's the movie's way of saying that reality is shaped by perception. Neo literally becomes the one by discarding doubt. Then there's Agent Smith's existential crisis. This is a program designed to enforce order, and yet he feels anger, disgust, boredom, frustration, even talks about hating humans. So here's the rabbit hole. If Smith were unplugged from the Matrix and returned to his machine body, would he still feel those emotions? If so, does that blur the line between human and machine? Are the machines developing something like consciousness, or are they just perfectly mimicking what they perceive in humans? The first movie drops these hints, but leaves the questions tantalizingly open.
Then we have the inheritance of limitations, a theme that resonates beyond sci-fi. Neo's journey isn't just about being the one. It's about realizing that most people never become the one because they've been taught to obey limits from the start. If your parents, or your culture, or your education tell you something is impossible, it becomes real. Neo is the demonstration that mental shackles are only as strong as you let them be. Finally, there's the big, audacious idea the film teases. Anyone could be the one. Neo is special, yes, but not because he's inherently different. He's special because he believes. If you stripped away doubt, fear, and limitation, any mind could bend the matrix. The first movie gives us that seed, and then the sequels, well, they mostly water it in slow-motion explosions and sometimes questionable plot choices. These rabbit holes don't need answers. They're the philosophical spice that keeps the movie alive. Bullets, machines, destiny, belief, they all intersect in ways that make you wonder not just about Neo's reality, but about your own, which is exactly what a good sci-fi movie should do.
By now, it's clear. The Matrix wasn't just a movie, it was a cultural event, a philosophical exercise, and a marketing masterclass rolled into one leather-clad package. But let's take a step back and ask, why does it still matter over 25 years later? First, the obvious. It influenced everything. Bullet time became shorthand for "this scene is cool" and possibly physics-defying. Leather coats and sunglasses infiltrated every teen's wardrobe. Philosophical sci-fi suddenly became acceptable at the multiplex. Video games, movies, and TV shows still reference it because, let's face it, they literally can't not. Second, the movie still works on its own terms. Neo's journey from confused programmer to reality-bending savior satisfying. The fight choreography holds up, wire-fu or not, and the philosophical core, belief, choice, and perception, remains compelling. It doesn't need the sequels to validate its existence, though the sequels do exist. Third, the meta layer. The Matrix gave us cultural shorthand. Red pill, blue pill, the system, and philosophical debates disguised as casual pop culture chatter. Even if you've never seen the movie, you've probably absorbed its influence somewhere, maybe in a video game, a meme, or a friend dramatically dodging the obvious rules of life while citing a trench coat metaphor. But let's be balanced. It's not perfect. Some plot points are murky, some pacing choices could have been tighter, and yes, we still have unanswered questions about the machines, belief, and the limits of Neo's power. But perhaps that's the point. The unanswered questions are part of the movie's charm. They leave room for debate, interpretation, and yes, long-winded YouTube retrospectives like this one. Ultimately, the first Matrix endures because it was audacious in every way that mattered. Conceptually, visually, and culturally. It asked questions we weren't ready to answer, packaged them in incredible action sequences, and challenged us to consider the limits of our own perception. It made philosophy cool, martial arts cooler, and leather jackets the unofficial uniform of late 90s existential crises. So, whether you're a trench coat enthusiast, a philosophical ponderer, or just someone who enjoys dodging imaginary bullets in slow-mo, The Matrix remains an experience that rewards attention, belief, and maybe just a little bit of existential dread. And really, what more could you want from a sci-fi action movie? I hope you enjoyed this trip down the rabbit hole of The Matrix. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Nostalgic Couch Potato for more retrospectives, movie musings, and couch-bound commentary.